My best friend's husband confessed his feelings for me. Her life was very difficult and she says she's finally happy, so how do I tell her? Mia, 32, and I, 32, met in college and we were best friends ever since. Mia was always very family-oriented and romantic, even when she was a kid. Her ultimate life dream was to have a big, happy family. Sadly, Mia had a very difficult childhood. She lost her entire family, younger sister and both parents, from ages 10 to 12. She was in the system for a while until her abusive uncle took her in. Obviously, Mia was and is very mentally unwell, and just a few months ago, she managed to get off her meds and stop going to therapy. Mia and her husband, Rick, 34, are together for 2 years now and married for 6 months. In my opinion, it was all a bit rushed, but Mia was scared that she wouldn't be able to have children if she waited, and to be honest, Rick seemed to be her perfect match. She was aware things were going faster than she initially wanted, but reassured me that her and Rick are on the same page. It's her life after all, so if she's happy, so am I. Rick and I neither love nor hate each other. He's my friend's husband, so at best we tolerate one another. We don't have any common interests and our lifestyle goals are very different. Fast forward to New Year's Eve. Mia and Rick organized a party and invited me and my partner, 31, to join. Everything seemed fine. Rick and I were chatting with some friends when I decided to go outside to breathe in some fresh air. Rick followed a few minutes later. We casually talked about some irrelevant things when he suddenly says that he's in love with me. I thought it was just one of his stupid jokes and I was totally blindsided by it, so I just laughed. Joked back and hoped that he will drop it. Sadly, he just doubled down and got visibly upset. Started saying how he doesn't want to spend another year unhappy and how being with Mia is exhausting because of her trauma and that he deserves better than that. At this point, I got very nauseous and just wanted to get away from it all. So I told him that he has no idea what he's saying and we'll talk about it once he gets his shit together. Mia and Rick are trying for a baby, so I obviously have to tell her as soon as possible. The thing is, I have no idea how to do that. How do you approach a person to tell her the best part of her life is a lie? How do you address something like this with the person who spent the vast majority of her life on antidepressants and being suicidal? I don't even know if she'll believe me. I also don't want to lose her as a friend, but I can't watch her be all happy and giddy about him when I know that he doesn't even fucking respect her. There are times I think just to ignore it all and never mention it, but I know that this isn't right. Shortly after, Rick called to apologize for his behavior. He said he never meant for it to come out, but that he's very unhappy with his marriage and now he sees no escape with the baby on the way. He then said he would never be this confused about his feelings if Mia didn't have feelings for my boyfriend, on which they have been trying to work on for a while, but he's so exhausted from it all that he just wants to end it. He said that he's confused about his feelings for me, but he also wanted to hurt her so that she can see what she's putting him through and how painful it is to be in love with somebody who's a constant in their lives. Basically, he tried to spin the entire thing on Mia's trauma. I told him if he's so unhappy with his choices, he can just leave without vicious lies and that he didn't have any reason to put me or my boyfriend in the middle of this. He just said that he didn't mean for it to happen and we ended the call on that. I went to Mia afterwards and told her about Rick's confession. Obviously, she was heartbroken about this, but seemed to accept it at face value. I then told her what Rick said in the call since I thought she deserves to know that he's making stuff up behind her back. That's when she broke down and said that she had no idea how it happened. She would never act on it anyways. And that Rick was never supposed to tell me about it, but that's something between them that they are so close to resolving. She said she saw how my partner treats me and my kid and how that's something that she desperately wants but is just so unlucky. Call me selfish, but if we were friends as I believe we were, I would expect her to come forward with this, trauma related or not. It isn't just between Rick and Mia. It involves other people now that were unwillingly put into this entire situation. She spent one-on-one time with my partner so many times and she never felt bad enough to tell me, or at least to attempt to stay away from him and give me some fake reason for it. I know she needs support right now, but I can't do this. I simply can and won't, and if I'm an a-hole for it, then so be it. I'm fine with a stupid crush. We're all only humans, and especially with her history, I would 100% understand to help her out if she came to me about it. Lying and the betrayal that went on for years on the other hand, I simply cannot forgive that easily, especially after everything we've been through and the things that she knows that I've been through. I told her that I need some space. She tried to call me after I left, but I'm too tired to talk to her at all, and I can't see myself doing so anytime soon.
I, 25 female, agreed to be a surrogate for my sister and her husband, late 30s, but I'm regretting it now. For the most of my life, my sister Alice has been wanting kids, but has been unable to carry a baby to full term, in part due to endometriosis. She was in a lot of pain and had to have a hysterectomy. Alice and her husband Ben have fostered 5 children and have adopted 2 children with autism and are really great parents. They have a good home environment and are financially very well off. But recently Ben, and after a while Alice, was bitten by the urge to have a kid biologically related to them because they wanted a chance to do things right and provide the best start in life. Their views, not mine. So they asked me to be their traditional surrogate and said that they would cover all costs, legal, medical, etc. associated with it. They would also be paying off my student debt, renting a 2-bedroom apartment for 3 years, plus giving me a substantial amount of cash. I said sure, it'll be 9 months of my life in exchange for being set up for quite some time, and my immediate family thinks it's a great idea. However, when I said sure, I was expecting something along the lines of IUI, where we go to the doctor to get Ben's sperm prepped, me getting shots, etc. Basically the whole artificial insemination package. But Alice and Ben have asked me to, well, get pregnant the traditional way. The rationale is that 1, it is the cheapest way, 2, they don't want to go to the hospital given the pandemic, and 3, they think babies conceived naturally are healthier and the pregnancy would be safer without the chemicals. But I just can't get over the extreme ick factor, and even if this was going to take place at home, I think a syringe would work fine. Am I going loony for thinking of going back on my word? Is their request reasonable? My immediate family doesn't see anything wrong with it and has been congratulating my sister on her impending baby. On the other hand, if I do give it up, I'm crazy for passing up what is essentially $200,000, especially in this economy now. I see that I am completely out of my depth here and will be discussing with my sister about alternatives that don't include me carrying the baby. Not looking forward to that discussion though. All of the comments on my previous posts show me that I'm way too young, dumb, and ignorant with what I signed up with. I started researching actual lived experiences and I read so many horror stories and that I've decided not to go ahead with being involved in any way, shape, or form with helping them have kids. In fact, I'm not even sure I want to ever get pregnant after all the stories about 3rd and 4th degree tears, poop, miscarriages. I am clearly not in the right stage of life/maturity to even consider doing something of this magnitude. The difficult part was mustering up the courage to call my sister to tell her my decision. I really look up to my sister and love her lots, and our family and religion has always been about helping others out when we can. When I called her to tell her, we had a short convo at first where I basically said, "Sorry, I can't do it, but that doesn't mean I love you any less." She seemed sad, but she said she was happy to respect my decision, and I thought that was it. Then, just last night, sister and brother-in-law called me back over Zoom. My sister was crying and begged me to reconsider, as both of them really wanted biological kids. Brother-in-law told me that they were really disappointed in me and hoped that I would find it within me to do this. When I told them my concerns, my brother-in-law just said pregnancy and motherhood is a beautiful and natural process and that I was made for this. I'm so glad I did this over video call instead of person because I just hung up on them and faked having connection problems. I've been ignoring their text so far and frankly I don't know what else to say. But anyway, thank you all from the bottom of my heart for opening my eyes. There's another update. Leaving for the airport in a few hours to move across the country and I can't sleep. I plan to slowly phase out contact with my family and community even though I love the people in their lots. Long story short, I went over to Alice and Ben's house to visit their kids in May. While there, they asked me in person to reconsider my decision. Sometime during this, Ben started kissing and groping me. I let him. I know typing this out makes me seem dumb for going over and weak because I was. But I just froze, and it was very difficult to say no in the moment, especially with my sister crying and Ben having quite a presence in person. Trust me, I've replayed that scenario so many times in my head, wishing I was stronger in that moment. Luckily, that was the extent of it, and I was able to leave shortly after, because I don't know what I would have done otherwise. I also received, surprisingly, no support from my parents or my bishop regarding my earlier decision. I didn't tell anyone about the recent event. I don't think they knew what Alice and Ben were asking me exactly, and I didn't bring it up either. I was already sort of an outsider for not really conforming to the usual lifestyle of being married with kids, but this still shocked me. All these things combined made me reevaluate my life. Working from home and having this much time alone has given me a lot of time to think about things. I fell down the rabbit hole of reading stories of people who also left the church and I want that life for me. So I spent the last 3 months making arrangements, transferring to another part of my company, and today is the big day.
Here is a list of random confessions. These are things that I probably shouldn't tell the internet, but they've been weighing like deep and heavy on my mind, so I'm going to. When my ex-boyfriend first cheated on me, for a slight fucking moment, I was like, I can make it work. Bitches, you've done it too, don't fucking lie, but you want to know what I did to justify it? I was like, well, Beyonce's been cheated on. Like, what the fuck was I on? I was in my dumb bitch era, we know this. Going off of that one, I would personally never fuck Jay-Z. It's not like I've ever had the opportunity or will. Like, I think about Beyonce being cheated on and I'm like, who the fuck fucks Jay-Z? Like, who does that? Like, me personally, I'd never fuck Jay-Z, and I think you're weird if you would. The last 2 men that I have made out with have tongued me down. Not in a hot or an attractive way whatsoever, like, shoved their tongue down my throat. I have not even told my friends this yet. For a moment, I was like, is this a new thing men are doing? And like, I just so far out of the game. I mean, like, tongue in the back of my throat. It's not hot. It's not cute. It's creepy. I genuinely could not breathe. Who is out here telling these men that's okay? And why are you lying to them? One of my best friends and I were on walk the other day and she was telling me about her like fucking breakup or something. I started taking photos of myself. No, like, it was really weird. I just started opening Snapchat and taking selfies and she was like, what the fuck? And I was like, I don't know. I'm like, I don't even know why I did that. Like, that just felt like a muscle memory type of thing. I have no idea where that came from. Make matters worse, I then said, hey, get in it. And then we took a photo together after she was like about to cry. No, she wasn't that sad about the breakup, honestly, but we were just talking about it. I'm like, get in the photo. The fuck, Libby? Going off with the picture thing, I've had several guys be like, oh, there was this one photo on your Instagram that was just made me like, wow, like, damn. Without hesitation, I'm like, show me it right now. Like, which one was it? Which one was it? Show me it right now. And then I make these men pull up a photo of me and I go, oh my, I love that one too. That's so fucking embarrassing to admit. That is literally criminally embarrassing. This is Honest Hour, and I'm the host, so whatever. If I'm on the phone with my mom and I don't like something she's saying, I go, oh, gotta go, Sissy's calling me. If I'm on the phone with Sissy and I don't like something Sissy's saying, I go, gotta go, mom's calling me. I definitely started a 2.5-year relationship because my ex was tall. That was seriously the only thing that I really liked about him. Really had nothing else going for him besides the fact that he was 6'4", 6'5" on a good day. The only reason I liked my ex-boyfriend is because we had really good sex. Looking back, that was really all we had in common. Like, he actually annoyed. Honestly, I had a dream about him last night. I hope he fucking chokes. That was the only thing we had in common, is that we had good sex. And then I was like, really had to get to know his personality, and I was like, you annoy the fuck out of me. I find it so weird when someone new I'm talking to is not love bombing me. Honestly, healthy as fuck of me to realize that, but I realize I'm just so used to love bombing that if someone doesn't love bomb me, I'm like, oh, that is my dead friend. Yeah, I know you guys see the orbs. If someone's not love bombing me, I'm like, oh, they're just like not into me whatsoever. And then I realize that no, Livy, you're just used to getting love bombed, babes. And it's not healthy. I have never liked somebody my mom has dated. Even my father, I was like, really? You picked him? So fucked up. I always thought my one grandma was overrated. I was like, why do we like her so much? I personally, never a fan. If you're watching this, grandma, you knew that. I thought it was a brilliant idea to tell my friend who was going through like a 4.5, 5-year breakup, watch the movie Someone's Great. If you haven't seen that movie, it's like, you don't recommend that to someone who's like breaking up with someone. It is the most heart-wrenching movie to this date. I just thought it'd be a good idea if he watched it. I really don't know why. Like, that's cruel of me. My intuition will tell me when my best friend is texting her ex. I literally get a tingle in my body and I'm like, I know that bitch is texting her ex. And every time I ask her, I'm like, did you text your ex? She goes, yeah. How'd you know? I'm like, bitch, I got a tingle in my body that just told me you're texting that fucking loser again.
My ex-boyfriend is threatening to expose our sex tape if I don't get back with him. I broke up with my ex 3 months ago, and it's become my personal nightmare. We actually only dated for 6 months on and off. At the time, I didn't know it, but he was definitely love bombing me from the beginning. At the time, I didn't even know what that was. Not until I started watching TikTok. We met at a bar, which is the worst place to meet a guy, by the way. He was all over me the first night he met me. He was trying to kiss my neck, and he even tried to grab my butt. I told him he needed to calm down, and he did. The following week, he managed to get a hold of my friend on Instagram, and he convinced my friend to give him my number. And my stupid-ass friend gave it to him. He was extremely manipulative, too. I later found out that my friend had a crush on him, so she was just trying to give him my number so she had an excuse to talk to him. Once this man got my number, it was a constant barrage of text messages. He would text me every single morning. He would send me selfies, and all of this without my permission. I've only dated broke guys in the past, and my ex has a lot of money. So I decided to go out with him just to get a free dinner. Biggest mistake of my life. He forced a kiss on me on our first date. I slapped him and he liked it. He actually said, I'd like that. I know this sounds terrible, but I kinda liked it. So then I went on a second date with him. He was really quick to do the dirty. He would always be grabbing or touching me. Anytime we were alone, even if it was for 5 seconds, this man would just pounce on me. He was literally and utterly obsessed with sex. Don't get me wrong, it definitely was overwhelming, but I had never been with somebody who was so passionate. But then came the jealousy. He was constantly worried about who I was with. He was always showing up to places where I told him I'd be. Even if I was having dinner with friends, this man would show up. He would show up uninvited to my house. Before I knew it, 5 months had passed. This is when my parents started trying to convince me to break up with him. They hated that he always came around to the house even when we were all having dinner. He would just show up and sit down with us. My father especially hated him. He would also grab me in front of my parents and try to do stuff. In front of my parents, he would always try to kiss me and touch me. My father hated this guy. One night I go over to his apartment, which he lives in a penthouse, and he tells me that he has something fun planned for us. I went into his bedroom and he had this whole setup. Cameras, chains tied to the bed, handcuffs. It was like 365 days in there, or 50 Shades of Grey. This man knew how to get me to do whatever he wanted. He started kissing my neck, and we started doing it. I knew the camera was there, but it didn't bother me. I never thought that he would ever try to use it against me. Fast forward 3 weeks later, I break up with him. He decides to start stalking me, and then sends me the video. He told me he'd give it to me if I went to his apartment. I go to his apartment, and he basically attacks me. Pushes me down on the couch and tries to do it with me. Then he told me that if I didn't get back with him, he'd expose me. I got back with him. He's on his best behavior. What should I do?
Am I wrong for telling my mom that she's insane for trying to get pregnant again? For context, I, 22 male, have 2 siblings, 22 female and 23 female. And I am the youngest twin, but we are all adults now. This all started a few years ago when my oldest sister got pregnant with my nephew. It was the first baby of our generation, and of course everyone was overjoyed it was a boy because they are so rare in the family. I won't sugarcoat it. My sister was spoiled during her pregnancy. She was driven to all of her doctor's appointments. Nearly every day, someone was buying something new. With every craving, someone was ready to go get it, and she even had 2 baby showers. When my nephew was born, it was the happiest my family had been since my grandma died. My mom, however, wasn't. Every time someone would do something for my sister, she expected it for herself. I remember I bought my sister a pedicure and paid extra for a foot massage, and my mother was pissed at me for days for not getting her one. "I'm the baby's grandma," she would say constantly. We all ignored her for the sake of my nephew. Well, my mom just recently sat me and my siblings down and explained how she wanted to try getting pregnant again. She wasn't asking for our opinion, more like informing us that it was going to happen. My sister was excited for someone who could be a playmate for her son. My twin was hesitant and I was livid. For privacy reasons, I won't give my mother's medical history, but just that is enough for concern, not to mention the fact that she's 40 plus years old. I asked her how she planned to live if she couldn't work while pregnant, as my father had never been in the picture. Well, one of my kids shouldn't mind taking care of me. I asked her how she planned to take care of a baby when she's back to work. Someone in the family can babysit. I asked her how she planned on buying baby stuff because she's not good with saving money at all. Everyone will pitch in for the baby like they did with your sister. And no, they wouldn't. My mom has burned quite a lot of bridges for her emotional immaturity. Well, I can see why. And one very high-risk pregnancy will not change that. Not to mention the fact that my siblings and I were raised by our grandparents because she couldn't. So I sat her down and tried to explain how this would be a terrible idea for everyone involved. But she got upset and started yelling about how I need to be supportive and I'm just jealous because I won't be the youngest anymore. I let my emotions get ahead of me and I called her insane and left. My siblings and family have called to tell me that I need to apologize and that I was way out of line. I don't have to like her trying for another baby, but I need to be supportive, which I feel like would be the case if we were talking about literally anyone else, but nobody else thinks the same. So, am I the asshole? For more info, I don't know how my mom intends to get pregnant. She wouldn't be approved for IVF and she's never had a consistent relationship. My guess is that she's just planning on sleeping around. Also, she's 43 going on 44. My guess is she's counting on the "it takes a village" mindset to help her with a child. My sister got special treatment for being pregnant because 1, she was having a boy, 2, because she was busting her ass as a single mother, student, and working full time, and 3, her baby's father was a piece of shit who dipped. Am I wrong for refusing to sleep with my wife's sister? What is this? What is this? This definitely has to do with baby making, I already know. So I, male 32, think this isn't controversial at all, but my wife's 31 female, family, and even some of my friends think that I'm making a big deal out of it. My wife has PCOS, which doesn't make it impossible, but very difficult for us to conceive a child. We've been trying for 3 years and it hasn't worked out. In addition to the traditional way, we've tried IVF and at one point had a family member who offered to have a baby for us with their spouse. Sadly for us, they backed out when the baby was born. We get how difficult giving up your own child would be, and so while me and my wife were obviously devastated, we understood and couldn't blame them. However, since our near miss, my wife has been getting more intense about having a child, which has led her to recently asking me that I do it the natural way with her sister. I think she's just really high on emotions right now and she just sounds really frustrated and desperate and emotionally exhausted. To be perfectly clear, we have the money to do another round of IVF, but my wife thinks it won't work again and will just be throwing money down the drain. This was a huge shock for me for obvious reasons, and while I get that it's probably the most probable way for us to have a genetically related child, it just seems the wrong way to do it. Not only does it feel like cheating, despite her permission and stepping over a line, my wife also grew up quite envious of her sister, who was a typical popular girl, and part of me thinks that even if I'm willing to, my wife would end up resenting me, her sister, and maybe even the child. My wife's sister is apparently completely understanding of our situation and is on board with the idea, which honestly weirds me out even more. I also don't believe it. I have asked her about how she feels myself, and every time she dodges the question by saying something along the lines of, "I just want my sister to be happy." To me, that's a major red flag, and I've asked my wife if her sister feels like she's being pressured to the idea. To me, that's a major red flag, and I've asked my wife if her sister feels like she's being pressured into the idea. But my wife keeps telling me that her sister knows what she's doing and would totally say no if she genuinely didn't want to go through with the plan. I've made it clear that I don't want to have a child this way, which has upset my wife a lot. She said that I'm punishing her for her medical issues simply because I can't get over myself. Her mother and father are very, logical, should I say. They think it is definitely out there as a solution, but get that it's a practical one for a complicated situation. Some of my friends even think that I'm being a baby about it, joking that there will be many men who would jump at this opportunity. The thing is, I get the rational reasons for doing this, and my reluctance at the end of the day is based on the feeling of it just being wrong and not being good in the long term for any of our family relationships.
A very well-known influencer who is hooking up with a famous football player who has a wife and kids. Am I the asshole? Lost my job in early 2020, obviously due to COVID. Instead of looking for another job, I set my mind to becoming famous on social media. Knew that I could make it happen, but I didn't know how yet. I did some research, so I basically started copying everything everybody else did, like all the other famous influencers. I dabbled in fashion, makeup, lots of lifestyle content, but finally I landed on bikini content. This just put me on a new level. Started gaining tons of followers. After posting every single day for about 6 months, I was almost at 400,000. This is when all the DMs started rolling in. I had really famous rappers, actors, athletes, comedians, other influencers, big YouTubers. I mean, the list goes on and on. So of course, I would reply to all of their DMs. Some offered to fly me out to see them, and others were living in the same city that I was. So I basically started going out on dates. The first date I ever went on was with a rapper. I don't want to give too many details because I think you guys could guess who this is. He was very popular in 2010s. I mean, he's still popular now, but he made a lot of good music then. Anyway, he had me come over to his house, spent the night at his house, and we basically talked the entire night. Surprisingly, we had really good conversations, and that was that. And I got a DM from a really big football player, who I knew was already married and had kids. That didn't stop me from messaging him back. When I saw his DM, I quickly answered. Sent me little heart eyes, so I replied back with some hearts. Then he asked me where I lived. I told him that I was in LA, and he said, okay, cool. I can fly you out. I said, sure. Literally the next day, I was flying first class to go see this guy. Got me a suite at a really nice hotel. He said he would show up at 7, but he actually showed up at 11 p.m. By this point, I was already in my pajamas and my skincare. Once he came up to the room, he apologized for being so late. That's when he said that he liked that I wasn't wearing makeup. Which makes me laugh so much because before he arrived, I had a full face of makeup on and a freaking cocktail dress and heels. He said that I was a natural beauty. That's when he basically ordered the entire menu from the hotel. He ordered steak, pasta, pancakes, waffles, French toast, champagne, and a bunch of other stuff. He asked me if I wanted a salad. I said yes. While we were waiting for the food, he started kissing me and we basically ended up doing it. It happened really quick. It was over in like 2 minutes. Afterward, he kissed me and then the food came. He proceeded to eat almost everything that he ordered, but he left me some salad and fries. That was it. It's like he was telling me that he only wanted me to eat salad. After that, he started asking me questions like if I was dating other people. Said no, but I was going on dates. When he told me that he only wanted me to be exclusive with him, that he would fly me out whenever he was available. I said yes, but I knew that I wasn't going to go through with that because I'm not going to be traveling for him all the time. That's when he told me he wanted me to be exclusive with him, that he would basically fly me out whenever he wanted. Obviously said yes to his face, but I was not planning on it. Would I be flying around the country to go see this one guy? Good news is when I got back home, I had a bunch of new DMs. So I went on a few more dates. I went on a date with a very famous YouTuber. It was super fun, really casual, and didn't really expect anything from me, which was really nice. When we went on our date, he actually treated me like a queen. If this guy asked me to be his girlfriend, I would totally say yes in a heartbeat. Then the football player actually ended up calling me the same night that I was on the date with the YouTuber. Decided to go to the bathroom and answer the phone. That's when he started acting all jealous and asked me where I was. He said that I should be home resting and ready to go see him again. He asked me if I could fly out the next day. I said no because I did have a modeling job, thank God. I mean, a girl needs to make money. Then he said that he would start giving me an allowance of $5,000 a month. I said yes to in a heartbeat. So I ended up canceling the modeling job. I flew out the next day to go see him and he actually gave me the $5,000. Said that every time I saw him, he would give me more. But here's the thing, he has a wife and kids and I do feel bad about that. This has been happening now for a few months. I have more money now than I ever had. And I'm still modeling on the side, so I'm making my own money. I'm still going out on dates with other guys. What should I do?
My fiance left me after he found out about my college days. I've been with my fiance for 2 years, engaged for 2 months. I can go on and on about how great he is, but I won't waste your time. He's awesome. Him and my sister's boyfriend have gotten really close over the past year, and they talk at least twice a week, whether on the phone or FaceTime or just hanging out with all 4 of us. Sister has been dating her boyfriend since high school, so obviously her boyfriend knows me very well, as well as my dating history. Last weekend, we all thought it would be fun to drink and hang out over FaceTime. It was a FaceTime double date and we all had a blast. Laughing, playing drinking games. We all partied for over an hour, and that's when I was over it and decided to leave the party to call my sister directly without the boys in the other room. Well, my fiance and her boyfriend stayed on the FaceTime and continued to get drunk together. During this time, I couldn't hear shit because I was in another room and was talking to my sister. Sister's boyfriend goes and tells a bunch of stories about my college days and how many guys I hooked up with. Just so everyone knows, I don't know the actual number. My first 3 years of college was literally one giant party. Without being too descriptive, I admit I was excessive. But at that time, it was just what we did. I was single during that time and me and my friends with a lot of guys. Most of them that I couldn't even pick out in a lineup. But again, I was in college. Anyway, one of the parties that I went to, I ended up hooking with 4 different guys at the same time. This is relevant later. My fiance is handsome as fuck and I know for a fact that he's been with several women. We talked about our past a lot in the beginning of the relationship. I wasn't 100% honest with mine and I can only assume that he was. After everyone hung up, me and my fiance were laying in bed about to sleep when he just calmly asked me, "Did you get gangbanged in college?" My response was, "What the fuck? Why would you ask that?" That's when he told me everything that my sister's boyfriend told him. He told me details I'm not even sure are 100% true because again, blur. But a lot of that information was accurate, so I just told him yes. It was one time. He continued asking questions about other stuff, but the gangbang thing kept coming up and he had a lot of questions about it that I answered to the best of my knowledge. Fast forward to Wednesday. Things have been fine and normal Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. But on Wednesday, radio silence. He hasn't texted or talked to me in 3 days. The breaking point was tonight when he came home from work and asked me, "Are you friends with any of the guys on Facebook?" Again, not lying to him, I admitted yes, I was friends with all of them. He left a few hours ago and I have no idea where he is or what he's doing. I'm tempted to call the cops, but I feel like I will just make things worse. I feel like garbage. I fucking hate my sister's boyfriend right now, but maybe it's not even his fault. Maybe I should have been more honest. I'm so lost. He's the best thing to ever happen to me and I've never seen him like this before. Is this the end? He refuses to return my calls and texts.